Hello guys, and welcome to the AnonUK and Ireland radio show. So here we have tonight, we have Mark of Respect, myself, and actually online right this very second, we have Harry Fear. Welcome to the show, Harry.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Right, Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you just for a minute and we'll go from there.
Right, cheers, mate. Listen, Harry, good to speak to you.
You too.
Listen, as we all know, thank you. As we all know, you were actually out in Gaza while the, well, as they like to say, as things were popping off, so shall we say.
Exactly.
I just want to start because I want everybody to understand. I'm going to get to the questions that guys are actually asking. But can you please, as emotively as you possibly could, in as short a time as you possibly could, let us know what was that?
What was that? What, sorry?
Like there, while you were there. And I understand it was a conflict situation. I just want people to be able to understand what a conflict situation actually is like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if everyone else heard you, but I could not hear all of you. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, great. So yeah, to answer it, I mean, to be honest, as you said, it's really almost impossible for people to imagine, actually. And I guess thinking about the average British person, how they would be able to imagine it. Movies and action movies, they gloss over what it's really like, and they make it almost. They make war look almost romantic. Can you still hear me, actually?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I'm just making sure that you're live on the show. They all are. They can hear you. It's just not Mark. Carry on.
Okay, great. We lost Mark, but okay. It glosses over, and people really have no sense of the barbarity and gravity that goes on. And just to give you an example, it means that when you go to the hospital during the wartime, well, during the recent 8-day war, Israel directly targeted one of the main hospitals in Gaza City. By the way, when you go to the main hospital, for example, which I did several times. It means that basically you hear children crying for their parents as a matter of routine. Children crying in pain, brought in on stretchers or carried in by other civilians from civilian vehicles and ambulances. And it's absolutely devastating. It's absolutely horrifying. In some cases, it was absolutely terrorizing for me personally, but generally the whole thing was terrorizing for most of the population living in absolute physical insecurity. Friends of mine had to flee their homes or wherever they were up to 6 times during 8 days. Entire families were wiped off the map. And, Israel thinks that this is self-defense. It's beyond the pale. It's beyond the pale.
Harry, the way we've had it explained over here, Israel, and I'm actually pretty flabbergasted that the BBC of all people haven't actually been as honest and open as they make out that they're trying to be. We were having it presented to us as if Israel was only trying to do its best to protect itself from these multitude of rockets that were firing over from the Palestinian side of things, and.
Yeah, exactly. This is the strange thing is that the Western world and in Britain, etc., everyone is concerned about the rockets fired from Gaza to Israel, but no one is concerned about the rockets that are fired from Israel to Gaza. And the numbers are totally, they don't match up. The point is that before the recent 8-day war that we're talking about, innocent 13-year-old boy sliced up by shrapnel, his heart and his lungs sliced up while he was playing football with his friends outside of his home, and Israel has made no comment about this. This is 6 days before the recent war, and this is normal in Gaza, actually. So the point is that people do not care about the Palestinians as a rule, but they care about the Israelis. Well, that's the implication. That's the message that we send anyway.
Yeah, right. Well, as I know, and as I've been led to believe, Israel has slowly, let me start that again, Harry, sorry. As I know for a fact, Israel started off, the nation of Israel, the state of Israel, I should say, as sectioned off, began life, I do believe, 1946, 47.
Exactly, 1946 through 8.
Yeah, became a solid fact by 48. But I don't believe it occupied more than 15% of the land that was there.
Exactly. I mean, basically, what happened was that Israel ended up taking more than well over, actually, 75% of the land, which was once Palestinians. And the United Nations said, yeah, sure, and etc. And Britain said, yeah, sure, whatever. People can check out a really good website, Mark, called ifamericans.knew.org. And this shows you all of the basic facts and figures of the conflict in all of their devastating form.
What was that? Ifamericans.knew.org.
Yeah, ifamericans.knew.org, yeah.
Ifamericans.knew.org. Can someone get on that?
Yes. It's a really nice website. It shows the basic facts and figures,
I'll tell you what, actually, Harry, Farhan has just... sorry, go on, Farhan.
There's a book also called The Palestine Question by Henry Kattan, who's an international lawyer. And this goes through many of these details and things. Say, for example, sort of more or less the bottom third of what's now Israel, from Gaza down to the Red Sea, to the Gulf of Aqaba and everything. This had less than 1% Jewish population, but was given on the basis of they need two seas to actually have access to sort of the Red Sea and the actual Mediterranean. But it shouldn't at all have been. Sort of most of the people there were non-sort of Israeli and everything.
I think we're losing you there.
Yeah, we're losing you there, man. I cannot hear you, actually.
Okay, well, just while... Oh, he's still there. Good. Go on, Mark. No, okay, well, just while we're here, let's see if we've got another question on the line while he's just trying to sort his... we've got a question, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this one, but how long will Gaza hold on for?
The thing is that, I've been in Gaza 3 months and etc., and I've met hundreds or thousands of Palestinians, and I do not know any Palestinian who's, had their will broken and etc. I'm not romanticizing it, but the point is that it seems absolutely impossible that the Palestinians will give up. And that's so inspiring. And that should, make us feel motivated to help them out, so to speak. But, Gaza will go on forever. The resourcefulness shown in Gaza is unbelievable. They're basically sealed in their own land. Mm-hmm. And there are hundreds of tunnels which go deep underground beneath the border with Egypt to allow the population to an extent to survive. It's just unbelievable, the level of resilience.
Haven't they, I just heard recently on RT something about them flooding the tunnels. Now, who is responsible for that? Do you know?
Yeah, the Egyptian state is responsible for this. Last summer, they destroyed 50 to 60% estimated of the tunnels. There are about 1,000. Right. And then recently, in the last couple of weeks, as you said, they have flooded a bunch more. And obviously, this is not exactly a goodwill gesture. They've basically sealed Palestinians' economy in Egypt, and is now in the last year, they've at least twice on 2 different occasions attempted to destroy more of those smuggling tunnels. So, the general Egyptian treatment of Gaza is, on the face of it, pretty horrid.
Wow, that's just shocking. That is, to hear that coming. Another question: what would you do if you were David Cameron to help Palestine?
Well, the first thing to do would to be stop supporting Israel with money and words and etc., and say that we condemn this. We condemn them absolutely, that Israel has to abide by international law, and that until it abides by the dozens of United Nations resolutions it breaches, we will actually put sanctions on Israel, and the country of the UK will not be complicit in any Israeli breaches of international law. This is a fairly basic thing. I mean, look at what we're doing to Iran. It's happening right now with various countries. It's just a matter of extending that to Israel and saying, enough is enough. You've got to behave like a respectable population. Yeah,
I mean, you're literally taking the words like from Annie Mashon last night, the MI5. She went straight to Iran, and said, look what they're doing to Iran. Yes. It's exactly the same. Let's have a look at some other questions that we got here. Everybody knows what Harry Fear represents, but what about the war crimes? What about the war crimes? I don't know how to take that one. Sanctions from the UN. Everyone's firing questions at me here.
Okay. Can you hear me, mate?
Oh, you're back, Mark. Hello.
Yes, I am back. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what was going on with the Skype this end. Sorry. Harry.
Yes.
Listen, I've got a couple of well, more than a couple of guys here who've said something. I just want to ask you very, very, very quickly.
Sure.
Tell you this very, very quickly. There's two good friends of ours, Tristan and Andy, who are listening in, right? And they just all they've said is quite plain and simple. They're sending much respect in your direction, and they are listening right now, right?
Well, that's very sweet of them. Thank you.
It's basically you're getting the same respect from everybody here as well, because seriously. I read the tweets. I followed the uploads and the blogs and what have you, and I was actually pretty stunned and amazed. Right? Let's put it this way. I think, was it the way we would put it, Farhan? I think it showed extreme testicular fortitude. I think is the best way to put it. Right? Seriously. But no. Ajax,
you know, Mark. The thing to say here is that any let's say strength that I showed is number one, nothing in comparison to what Palestinians show, and number two, only made possible by the inspiring example that is set in Gaza by Palestinians. You know, what I mean is that it rubs off on you the kind of, you know, we're not going to let this affect us. We're gonna stay strong, human, resilient, and look after ourselves. You know, this is the only reason why I was able to do the reporting as the bombs were dropping, is because it's so inspiring. It sets an example to the world, you know, how we should behave as good humans under such conditions.
Right. Well, so the biggest concern, I think, for a lot of people, right, and actually somebody actually asked the question, and I'm not sure if while I was out it was asked of you. I think, is it Fundamental who asked the question? I think it was. How long do you believe Gaza can hold on for?
We answered that while you're off air, actually. I said basically indefinitely, you know. It's so inspiring, the resilience, that, you know, it's just not foreseeable that Gaza will give up, actually.
I can't see it happening myself either. But look, I mean, I don't know if was DC's question asked. Right? I don't know if DC. I can only take that to be the one and only.
Yeah, you're going again,
Mark. Using you again.
What he was going to ask you was, were you at St. Paul's? There was a rumor that you spoke to an Anon, but was never confirmed.
Oh, yes. I was. You mean outside St. Paul's Cathedral with the Occupy movement?
That's correct.
Yeah, I was there actually on something like the second day that it started, and I did some interviews with people there. Yeah.
Yep. So there we go. DC. That's good. Another one we got here. Let's have a look. I want to know about the UN sanctions on Israel and the reports on white phosphorus. Did they get charged, and when will we see the UN in Geneva take action?
Gosh, well, the United Nations is something separate to the International Criminal Court and is also separate from the reports about white phosphorus.
Yeah.
The United Nations follows two, well, even three things. The first is the General Assembly, which is meant to represent the world. The second is the Security Council, which has the ability to actually do something about international matters, and then in terms of security, you know, military issues. And then the third is the United Nations relief efforts, helping the Palestinians humanitarianly, etc. And the General Assembly basically doesn't really do anything. And the Security Council is basically dominated and controlled by the United States, with the US veto, which protects Israel. So it's not looking great at the United Nations, to be honest with you. However, there is hopefully an improvement we, in theory, can see with the Palestinians being able to take cases to the International Criminal Court,
right,
and say to Israel, like, stop colonizing the West Bank, and et cetera, and et cetera. What were the other issues, actually?
We got literally loads. We got one from Ajax. Well, basically, it's how is the current situation? How will it go in the future? And how did yourself see the activity of Anonymous, you know, during the time?
That's cool. You'll have to remind me of the second question. The first one, how is it
coming?
Going up? You know, actually, at this moment in time, in terms of bombing, Gaza is better off now than it was 12 weeks ago or 6 months ago, before the war started, I mean, okay? What I mean by that is, although there are regular Israeli aerial incursions which breach the ceasefire into Gaza and Palestinian airspace, there has been no reported confirmed bombings from the air of militants, so to speak, or homes or anything. And so at the moment, if you stay away from the sea, if you stay away from the borders, and I mean really far away from the borders, because there's a precedent of Israel assassinating people even 1.2 kilometers away from the border.
Wow.
If you stay away from these dangerous areas, relatively dangerous areas, basically Gaza is a fairly relatively safe place in terms of security at the moment. So what's left with is an overwhelming humanitarian crisis, which sees vast desperation in terms of people's livelihoods and economic security. And that is getting worse and worse, to be honest with you. So by 2020, according to United Nations reports, the place will be basically uninhabitable. And for example, take something as simple as water. Basically, within a few years, it'll be like the tap is turned off, that the water that comes out of the tap, so to speak, will be basically poisonous in nature. Wow. And that's in a few years' time. So on the one hand, things are a bit better in terms of the bombing, etc. On the other hand, things are getting worse and worse with regard to overcrowding, humanitarian crises, and something as simple as water provision.
Well, I think you answered the second question in that one question: how will it go in the future? And how did you see the activity of Anonymous during the time? I mean, because obviously Anonymous sort of like jumped on this and was like supporting you. They were taking down sites. I mean, what's your perspective on it?
I think that the most appropriate word to use was that it was incredible, actually.
Yeah.
Because the people responsible for this are taking a massive risk for their own freedom and security, because in many cases they're basically breaking the law in the UK or in Europe, for example. And we know that the services of security, the police and etc. in these Western countries are massively preoccupied with trying to dent and destroy Anonymous and its operations. So a massive risk was taken to send these messages of solidarity and trying to hold Israel to account in a way with a kind of, if you like, internet blockade by destroying so many Israeli websites, by taking them down and etc. This got enormous amounts of international media attention and therefore helped show that the world has not, ordinary people of the world, movements for freedom and justice have not forgotten about what's going on, are paying absolute attention to what Israel is doing, and will hold it accountable in every way that is possible as these kinds of operations, ugly operations, are launched against defenseless populations, largely defenseless populations. I think it was, I found it, and the people I talked to at the time of the war found it very, very hopeful to see this kind of, let's say, grassroots hacktivism supporting the Palestinians, who have largely been, to an extent, ignored by the world in terms of anyone actually willing to do anything. So to see people really do something was very moving for a lot of people, frankly.
I bet. And I bet, just going through when you were there with those, I was watching the live stream. I was getting no sleep because I was just continuously monitoring, and the drone noise that was over that place, I was driving me insane. Without even being there.
I think that many of the people watching the live streams, they actually, in a way, suffered like many of the people there suffered. And I do mean that quite seriously, actually. I'm not exaggerating. Many of the people I've spoken to or seen who watched the live stream, even talking about it, they almost have an emotional breakdown because of the level of they felt like they were there by listening and etc. to the drones and stuff. So this has been, I think, a powerful way in communicating the horror of what it was like, actually.
Yeah, I can only imagine, and by what I saw and heard. But I don't know if you're aware of this. Why is the world deeming Harry as an activist and not a reporter? Are you aware of this?
I take whatever title I'm given if it's that. I call myself a documentary filmmaker or campaigning filmmaker or human rights advocate. I make documentaries because it can help bring awareness, and I help bring awareness because I'm a human rights advocate. Sometimes I did some reporting during the war and et cetera. I kind of take whatever nice title I'm given, really.
Well, you got Mark. I'm going to just nip off for a second. You've got Mark, and you've got an extra, one of our other hosts online as well, Schism. Carry firing away, guys.
Hey, Schism, Harry. Harry, hope you can still hear me.
Nice to meet you. Oh, no, this is Mark. Hi.
This is Mark.
It's me again. It's Mark. I'm back again, nice and clear. Schism, you all right, mate? Can you hear us?
He's obviously not there at the moment. It's okay. He'll be back.
Ah, right. Okay, Harry. All right. It's you and I, Harry, and Nick. Let's go. Well, look. The one simple question I'd like to ask, I won't ask, and I suppose I'll ask that off transmission, to be honest with you, Harry.
Yeah.
But how are you holding up through all of this? Because I know that you're not keeping still. I won't go into. I won't ask too much. I don't expect you to say too much either. Obviously, if it's going to compromise yourself or whatever. But how are you generally holding up?
I mean, actually, following the war, I was, absolutely exhausted and fatigued and messed up in that kind of simple sense. But doing the tour around the world, I think I've done something like 10 countries since I was doing the live stream with you guys. And this actually has been very painful, frankly. It's been amazingly hopeful, and the benefits from it have been, really marked. But the point is that every day talking about the war again and again and again, doing the talks, trying to make people feel the pain and the desperation, talking about this massacre and this massacre, it's not exactly good for the spirit, let's put it this way. And so it has taken its toll on me. And so I will take a few days off before I go back to Gaza to try and kind of rebalance myself, because it has taken its toll. But the point is that someone has to, do these talks, etc.
Well, I'll tell you what, Harry. I hope you don't think I'm speaking out of place, but if it helps you, I've just had flashed up a website. It's actually aimed at helping out frontline activists, like most of the people listening and yourself, obviously more so, was it www.activist-trauma.net?
Gosh.
All right.
I see it.
Yeah, seriously, you have our very own sponsor knowledge to thank for that. Her ability to find, there it is, activist trauma support.
I got it.
Right?
I got it.
Yeah, you got it? Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's one of the conversations we were having here a few weeks ago. It was when everything was kicking off over there. I do believe it was the day before one of my shows elsewhere. And we were all talking about going to voice an opinion about this at the right place, which would be the Israeli embassy in London.
Yes.
And I know that there are a number of very, very pro-Palestinian groups that attended, and the usual assortment of we have what do Muslims refer to ourselves as? The people's journalists, whatever you want to call it. We'll go there, we'll see what happened. We actually are there because we believe we're standing up for a moral and ethical view that, sadly to say, quite a few of the population in this country turned a blind eye to what was going on.
Yeah. I was watching one of the BBC reports today just for kind of, the reasons of just going back and thinking about how it was. One of the BBC reports from the wartime, they didn't really do many, but I was watching a random one. And, the way they talked about what was going on, it kind of was almost like a lullaby. It basically sent you to sleep. There was no urgency to it. There was no gravity to it. It was kind of like, the Israelis and Palestinians are at it again, So you're right.
Look, as far as I was concerned, the way I looked at it, I did watch some of the live stream. I listened to a hell of a lot of stuff. And, what Nick said about listening to the drones, it was like listening to a bunch of like heavy duty wasps just constantly in the background. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if you think of the situation that exists right now, supposedly the rest of the world believes everything is at I suppose they'd call it a ceasefire position, where it's a bit of a stalemate, supposedly, and what have you, and there is nothing going on out of the ordinary, and peace now reigns throughout the land of Palestine/Israel. Obviously, differently, or
to be honest with you, things are serious still with respect to violence. Since the ceasefire, well over 90 breaches of the ceasefire. Me and the Palestinian journalist, a friend of mine, someone that I work with in Gaza, we were threatened with basically being shot at by Israeli soldiers when we were inside Gaza. A few days after the ceasefire, 4 Palestinians have been killed, 2 of them shot in the head, 1 of them in the pelvis, for example, since the ceasefire, more than 75 injured. And this is what Israel calls a ceasefire. So you can imagine what the war was like. But I would actually just endorse a website which does a very good job at bringing about awareness and doing its best to document what's going on a day-by-day basis. It's called occupiedpalestine.wordpress.com. And actually, it's really solid. For particularly the post-ceasefire situation with regard to who's been killed and injured. So that's great. And it shows you that, we're far away from peace. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Could you just repeat that address?
Of course. Occupiedpalestine.wordpress.com.
Got it. Lovely. I'll just put that on the message board.
Guys that are listening, and if you're up on the chat page and you've got that, could you put it up on the main wall and on radio, and just spread it wherever you want to spread it? Yeah, apparently people are already hitting that up. Thank you for that one, Harry. I must admit.
No worries.
As I say, though, generally speaking, there is a hell of a lot of support for the people of Palestine. The upsetting part for those of us that know concerning the, I think I dropped out the last time I brought this bit up. I just want to scan over it quickly. The whole thing with the Palestinians launching this, mass of rockets into Israel. I've seen photographs of what the rockets that are supposed to be coming from Palestine going into Israeli-held areas are supposed to look like. You're a man that was there. You're a man that knows. Can you kindly tell us in one simple way as you possibly can, compared to what Israel is chucking at Palestine, what's the retaliation from the Palestinians really like in terms of these wonderful rockets?
Basically, Mark, the rockets that the Palestinians have, most of them do not even have explosives in them. They're just projectiles. So basically, it's like lobbing a brick. The damage is the actual impact. There's no explosive. Well, obviously, that's fairly different from a vacuum bomb and etc. Israel has the fourth greatest military in the world with millions of US dollars of funding and etc. It has extremely advanced weaponry. Its drones are some of the most advanced in the world. Apparently, its drone technology is more advanced than that of the United States. So basically, it's totally unmatched. And so what the Palestinians do, most of the population in Gaza consider the rockets, they're not basically, if you speak to the terrorists, they're not designed to kill people or injure people. They're designed to scare people in Israel. And in this sense, it is absolutely explicitly terrorism. They're designed to scare people, not to actually kill people and etc. This is the general message. But they're not designed to match Israel. They're designed to be kind of symbolic. This is how I've described it in the past. Now, if this guy is raping this woman, if the woman slaps the rapist around the face, right, that is symbolic resistance. She can't actually do anything.
Agreed.
So it's basically the same as this, really.
Yeah. That's actually quite a good analogy, I would say. At the moment, though, is there any direct? Now, I'm asking you this. I'm not asking this out of any ignorance, but we just need to be updated from somebody who was there. How much US help, physically, directly, if any, have you or anybody that you know out there has seen?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean. You mean like helping the Palestinians?
No, I'm talking about in terms of. Look, there's all sorts of rumors concerning pro-Israeli groups in the States, returning to Israel to try and take up arms and all this sort of nonsense. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It gets reported in the mainstream press. You don't hear too much on our sort of things.
Yes. Yeah, there are people from all over the world who go to and serve in the Israeli military. There's even specific words to describe this kind of migration. Actually, when I first went to Israel, one of the people I was sitting next to on the airplane was actually doing this, going to Israel to serve in the Israeli military, not even living in Israel, this individual. And so this is a really serious situation, particularly for the United States, as you say. This is a serious problem. Many people say that, why isn't there a campaign to try and hold these people to account? Because if they're US or British citizens. If they're breaching domestic, Western laws, we can get them on that, so to speak, to try and make this stop. There's something which that needs to have effort put into it. But no, this definitely goes on. But this is not like state organized. This is privately organized. This is Israeli organized. And Israel has a massive movement to try and engage with, sorry to say, Jewish people living outside of Israel, to try and make them feel affinity for Israel, to serve Israel in the military, for example, to go and live in Israel. It's called birthright. People can search for birthright. People can search in Google for the Real News Network, birthright. And that will show a really good recent report about this campaign trying to get people to go.
Yeah. Wow. You still there?
Yeah.
I just got a quick question for you. It's been in the papers a few times, but can you elaborate and just give us a rundown on the protest in the West Bank for the Palestinian hunger strikers?
Thank you so much. This is the most important thing today, because what's happening today is, for now 202 days, Sama, one of the most principal hunger strikers, has been rejecting food, obviously, and etc. and etc. etc. And he's doing this why? Because for him, life is basically not worth living when he's mistreated. They're treated less than human beings, those in the Israeli dungeons. And there are hundreds that are today on hunger strike. Well over 800 are doing a one-day solidarity hunger strike with the main names who are being on hunger strike for hundreds of days. 202 days. This is, as far as I know, the top human record ever for a hunger strike. Hundreds demonstrating in the West Bank and around the world in recent days, including outside the BBC yesterday, actually, forcing the BBC to finally produce one article about this mass non-violent demonstration that's been taking place. One article on the BBC. Shame on the BBC for this. Shame on the BBC. And also the article that they have written, it's basically doesn't go to explain what's going on in any way that people can take something away, can make a conclusion from it. They say, this is what Israel says. This is what's happening to this Palestinian. They don't say the Palestinian's starving himself to death to try and tell Israel that it can't just imprison innocent people with no rights and treat them like dogs. There's no gravity to the explanation. So basically, it's a kind of totally clinical piece. It's one piece. Other news organizations around the world, I don't know, like, for example, RT, have been much more prominent in their documenting of it, not to mention Iran's Press TV, and it goes on and it goes on, and obviously independent media. But again, another shameful example of the West not paying attention, etc.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, and huge solidarity goes out to every single one of them, and especially Tariq, Jafar, and is it Ayman or Ayman? They're the three.
Exactly, but the principal one is actually Sama Isawi, and I probably won't have done his name proper pronunciation justice. But this is the one. This is the guy that has got the most attention, so to speak. His case, I'm not saying it's any more or less severe, but it's certainly the one where there's the most campaigning around, certainly in the West, among the solidarity activists. That's going out on Twitter. Sama Isawi is the hashtag, and Pal Hunger Heroes, Pal Hunger Heroes. Those are the hashtags which we're trying to get buzzing.
Right, well, we'll get that put on the notepad so people can look at that as well. So that's brilliant. I think he's gone again, but I'll get another question in quickly. When the attack ended, and you had all the response from people saying they were helping Gaza, can you give us an update exactly how the Gaza is rebuilding itself? I mean, all the gifts, the money that's been sent, is it helping? Is it rebuilding itself?
Well, the problem is, as you probably know, that basically Israel and Egypt maintain a kind of sealing in of Gaza. So there's basically not really any import and export. Construction materials are largely banned by Israel, basically. And this is severely, historically, in the last few years and thousands of days it's been blockaded now, has restricted Gaza's ability to reconstruct. However, in the last 2 or 3 years, there has been a construction boom in relative terms. So there has been some reconstruction. But the problem is that it takes, in many cases, years to get the funding and get the projects in place to rebuild stuff which is bombed, or generally to expand, because the population of Gaza is growing at an incredible rate. It's one of the kind of forms of resistance is, we'll have lots of babies. So that we, there are various reasons for that, but it's expanding at a rate, and therefore there needs to be expansion, etc. But the problem is, it's already one of the most densely populated places on earth, and most of the population are living in extremely densely crowded refugee camps.
Right. So, just a quick question. Somebody's got their radio on. Who's got their radio on? I can hear the radio. Hello? Somebody's got their radio. I know it's not me.
Not me.
Skizzy, have you got your radio
Maybe
on?
you should drop him from the call before it gets worse.
Yeah, hang on a minute. Let me just get that. Hang on a minute, 2 seconds. Oh, that's better. Right. You still all there, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The IDF, I'm just looking at their tweets at the moment. I mean, I know they exaggerate, but it said, yesterday we facilitated the transfer of 274 trucks with 8,871 tons of goods and gas to Gaza, including 4,080 tons of construction materials. I mean, we look at that, and do we look at it as like that's solid proof, or is it exaggerated?
This is an Israeli statement, yes?
Yes, this is in the IDF spokesperson.
The problem is this, and this is not a conspiracy theory, this is proven. The Israeli Defense Force has probably the most sophisticated PR propaganda machine in the world, far more advanced than the United States. And so, it basically pulls the wool over people's eyes. If the population of Gaza need 100 units of aid and Israel gives them 0.1 units of aid a day, it says, oh, look, we're so generous helping the Gazans. It's not it's not our responsibility, but we're helping them. We're so generous. Look at us. Point is that people are starving to death and children are malnourished, etc., despite the amount that it's giving them. Israeli states persons have said that they're putting Gaza on a diet, that they want to basically punish Gaza for the government that it elected in 2006. And this is on the record. At the same time, they try and tell the BBC and etc. that they're generous with their aid and etc. And that it's all for security purposes. But it's not for security purposes, because they've said that it's not for security purposes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty disgusting. It's a pretty disgusting tactic as well.
Most of the population, Mark, are children, and they're basically starving and suffocating people's lives for political reasons.
Right.
It's just,
Are you leaving, Mark?
So can you hear me?
No, we couldn't just say, carry on.
No, oh, right, okay. Fine was just saying that basically there have been all sorts of delaying tactics when it comes to the delivery of certain aid substances. And by the time some of it's actually getting through, it's spoiled, basically, is the best way to put it.
Exactly.
As I said, it's a disgusting tactic. It really, really is. And the worst part about it is that the right over here and in the States will turn around and they will defend Israel's right to do that. And then the right, they do have friends all over, which is fair enough, right? Meanwhile, those of us that are aware of what's being done, we're in a bit of a bind here. Now, this is what it really comes down to, because you do tend to hear a lot more loudmouthly from the right about, well, hang on a second, they've got no right really to be doing this to Palestine. Just think what happened to them less than 3/4 of a century ago. Now, we're not talking about the Jewish people from 1945 and beyond and before. We're talking about the state of Israel as it exists today. All right? And it isn't.
If you had something like that happen to you,
there should be a lot more compassion.
This is kind of difficult, because the point is that if I understand correctly, you're trying to draw a parallel between the Holocaust and what's happening in Gaza.
No. I'm not, Harry. All I'm trying to say is, let's put it this way: it's like a man that has been stabbed. will show a lot more.
Oh, we lost him again.
We've lost him. I think. I mean, I will reply. I think I understand what he's saying. You would expect, let's say, a population that has gone through enormous suffering to be more against this happening in the future. Let's put it this way. This is something which people say a lot in the UK, and no, this is a very deep point, and I don't find it particularly, I'll be honest with you, Mark, I don't find it particularly constructive, because it makes it sound like it's a religious thing about Jews and etc. But
no, it wasn't so much that. It's just a matter of a man that's it's an empathy thing.
I understand, yeah. The problem is, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter why. The Israeli population, which includes Arabs as well. I mean, the Israeli population, whoever is in it, it's vastly indoctrinated, and it is not compassionate and empathic at all. It's basically well off the map of any of that. And that's devastating, and that's what's facilitating this barbaric treatment of Gaza, for example, and all the thousands of prisoners in the West Bank, including those that are hunger striking today, and etc.
Wow. There's we should have asked this question right at the very beginning, but never mind. I've just had some tweets and some private messages, and it's amazing how many people are still blind to what's going on, obviously because of the Western media and how they portray everything. But what people are saying, what is the problem between Israel and Gaza? Why is it like this? Why is Israel trying to take control? What's the main thing?
I'll do my best to explain as best as possible. I mean, I'm not Palestinian or Israeli, but I'll try my best. Basically, if you go back 70 years ago, there was a population of Jewish people, which is, of course, acceptable, living in Palestine. It's acceptable for Jewish people to live anywhere, wherever they want. And they were part of the population, and everything was basically fine. That there were Jews, Muslims, Christians, and others living in relative peace. What happened after the Second World War was that basically a state was made called a Jewish state on more than half of what was Palestine at the time. This is a simplification, but this is basically the way it went. And so ever since then, and particularly since 1967, Israel has been gobbling up the other bits, the other less than 25% of what was left of Palestinian land. And what's left today is, according to the law certainly, Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. And these are the bits that the world has accepted for Palestinians to keep. The whole thing is an injustice in itself, of course. But the point is that this goes on and on. So a few years ago, if you go back to, for example, summer 2005, Israel was still trying to steal the land in Gaza. It had thousands of settlers stealing the resources in the land. But they pulled out of around summer 2005. One of the reasons was it was too expensive for them to keep troops there, basically. So they basically imprisoned Gaza, had bombed it every once in a while, tried to starve the population and make life miserable for them, containing Gaza. While the other bit, the East Jerusalem and the West Bank, they steal more land, carve it up, put the military all over it, and control it. And basically, all of Israel's propaganda buys them time to steal more land and resources and oppress more Palestinians.
Wow, no, that's very well said. A crunch question here we have. What's next for Anonymous? How can we help? Now, obviously, you can't go and say, take this site down, take that down, because you can't say that. You mean that's up to the individual. But how can Anonymous further help?
I think actually that in these days, with the hunger strikers pushing for international media attention, is something which is important. Take the BBC, for example. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning the BBC's website gets hacked or anything like this. No. God forbid. What I'm saying is that the media is helping Israel get away with this. And so the awareness and the media impunity, the media organizations have to be held responsible in various ways. And as I said, the BBC, for example, just as an example, because we're in Britain and there was a demonstration yesterday outside BBC headquarters, BBC has done one article about hundreds of people starving themselves for their freedom. It's despicable. The BBC is meant to be a reputable international news organization. So I think focusing our campaigning, so to speak, on media impunity and the hunger strikers right now is something of priority to all campaigners.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the BBC because I don't know if you're aware. I'll send you the link, and you're more than welcome to come along. We have an operation which is called Op BBC on Saturday, the 1st of June, and it's coincide with the Op Big Brother Stop the Communication Data Bill. And basically, we're all going down there on numerous reasons. One for the TV license being a criminal act, for their propaganda, for the possibility of more paedophilia inside. And also about their propaganda. So 1st of June, you're more than welcome to come along to Op BBC and the Communication Data Bill if you want to come along. So that's a good one. Any more questions? Let's have a look. Are you back with us, Mark? Sort of. I can hear a few little grunts there. Another question on me. I don't know if did the driver of the bulldozer that ran over the British girl a few years back ever get prosecuted for murder?
Actually, she was an American activist. Her name was Rachel Corrie. May she rest in peace.
Yeah.
Rachel Corrie was killed in March 2003. And the bulldozer driver, there has been quite a lot of media attention about the case, and the family, the Corries. I've interviewed them and spent time with them and their extended family. Have pursued this on an ongoing basis to try and get justice. Recently, they took a lawsuit to the Israeli state for $1, if I remember correctly, or 1 shekel, a symbolic lawsuit trying to get justice and an admission of guilt, at least, by the Israeli military. Basically, the Israeli military handbook says that they didn't do anything wrong, basically. And people can Google this and look at that. For example, Electronic Intifada, INTIFADA, Electronic Intifada .com is a good website which covers these sorts of things regularly in detail. And people can see that basically Rachel was she was murdered. I mean, it's fairly obvious to most people who understand the conflict and understand what the IDF has done historically and in the case. In this case, it's not just American activist Rachel, which her case has not got any justice. Also, for example, British cameraman Tom Hurdle was killed. A photographer was killed under fairly similar circumstances of barbarity by Israeli soldiers as well, and that's also gone basically with no justice. It's sad, but it shows that Israel is willing to kill even internationals to keep this system of oppression going.
Yeah. Well, the questions are slowing down. I think we're covering most of it. I've just got another one up here. Where is he? Where's they put it? I've done that one. God, I've got so many. Why did Israel, in your opinion, why did Israel bomb the leader of Hamas the day before the peace protest? In your opinion.
I don't know exactly what they mean by peace protest, but I'm guessing they mean the bombing, the assassination of that military leader, Ahmed al-Jabri.
Yeah.
Or they may be talking about the bombing of the Prime Minister's headquarters during the war, the headquarters Ismail Haniyeh's office.
We'll do both.
Both of which, are basically, if you think about it objectively, acts of state terrorism. It's basically like targeting Parliament or Whitehall or blowing up, David Cameron or something like this with an airstrike. This is basically what it means in Gaza.
Yeah.
Israel threatened to kill all of these sorts of leaders. There's precedents set and messages sent which threatened them all, and they were all in hiding as soon as the war began. This military leader, the 52-year-old al-Jabri, as the first airstrike, this sent a message to Palestinians. We are, to put it in crude language, we're going after the top brass of Palestine in Gaza, right? And that we're not going to hold back. And from the Israeli point of view, it's like cutting off the head of the snake. In a way. But in a way, it was very important that he was targeted first, important in terms of explaining how it happened. This guy was, although he was a military leader in Gaza, right, he was also a negotiator for peace with Israel. Really? He was responsible for prisoner exchange deals and long and medium-term ceasefire arrangements and negotiations. And they killed him, someone that they were trying to make peace with the Palestinians. So this sends a very strong message that basically the general message it sends is that we don't want peace. We will kill with impunity your democratically elected personnel who we've been negotiating peace settlements with, basically.
Wow, that's just taking my breath away. That as hearing that. Well, we're happy to work with you, Harry, all the time. To promote, to get your information out there. Not a problem at all. We'll carry on doing that for you. As one of our good organisers have said, ask him if he wants to organise a protest in his name. We will build. Like I said, we'll work with you. You can work with us, and we'll get your information out there.
Well, God forbid nothing happens to me, but if it does, you're very welcome to attend my funeral or something like this. But what I don't know why I made such a joke, but the point is, thanks for your support, and I'm sure that there is stuff that we can do, and you have such an infrastructure of campaigning and stuff. It's great. I don't know, but I think it's really great that we're having this discussion and bridging Palestinian, solidarity activism with this kind of anonymous activity. I think that this is so nice to have this kind of connection, actually.
Right. Since I said the questions are slowing down, I won't keep you too long. Mr. Harry, they called you. Do you believe unilateral talks can ever be met with a consensus resolution? If not, why, between Israel and Palestine?
Israel wants to talk because, to the face of the world, it makes pretty talk, but then behind Israel's back, when the world isn't watching, it steals and kills Palestinian lands and lives. So the talks are designed to buy time while Israel kills and steals. This is simple, yeah? And so actually, focusing on talks, which has been what's going on for basically decades now, that's total waste of time. It's a distraction designed to stupefy the world, to be honest with you. Yeah? And so we have to say enough is enough. Mm-hmm. Like we had with South Africa. Enough is enough. We're not going to let this happen anymore. The world is saying, no, you have to behave with reasonable behavior. This is the way it has to go.
Okay. Another question. It says, can we focus on something more positive? Have you seen any Israelis open to learning more and doing something about this? How can we reach more Israelis so they understand what's going on?
There are many reasons to be hopeful. I've had Israelis come to my talks around the world, like in New York, for example.
Really? Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk to Israelis whenever they email me, and I engage and talk with them when I have the time, which isn't very often, unfortunately. But I try my best to negotiate, or whatever, not to negotiate, but to think with them. The point I'm trying to make is that there are massive reasons to be hopeful. The point that we're even talking about this, and that you and us, me and you guys care about this, is one of the examples of why we should be hopeful. Millions of people care. Millions of people want to do something and find what's going on appalling. And if millions of people care and will do something, that's what's going to make this stop. So actually, this is the first time that we've talked together. So this is, for example, a really hopeful thing. And, there are millions of people who are trying to do something today. What's going on right now with the social media campaigning to try and free the hunger strikers, PAL hunger heroes and etc. This is all positive stuff to get behind. BDSmovement.net. People can go and find out what boycott, divestment, sanctions means. BDSmovement.net.
Sorry, could you just repeat that site?
Excuse me. BDSmovement.net. This is the main website about the BDS movement. It's very simple. It says that until Israel complies with basic norms of humanity, the thing should be blockaded. Should be boycotted and sanctioned. This is what it says. This is acceptable historically. This has been done to other countries like South Africa. So this is a very powerful movement. And as I said, all over the UK, there are groups that people can get in touch with. Palestine Solidarity Campaign is the #1 UK one throughout the UK. People can do positive things and help make this stop. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah, because everything you're telling us, we're putting up the sites on the public pad, so everyone can go and look at these. I have a question for myself actually. I'm just looking at the Gaza Aid convoy, which is due to go 23rd of February 2013. I don't know if you're on that Facebook, the Gaza Aid convoy, but They stock up. They go out there. I mean, how does everything in that truck get over into Gaza, or is there going to be intervention from Israel? With it all.
The most important thing to say here is that remember that Gaza actually borders with Egypt as well.
Right.
And so the aid convoys basically go through the Egyptian border as a rule. Yeah? And they sometimes aren't successful, but generally they are successful. They're facilitated by Egypt to an extent,
Right.
and Gaza obviously welcomes it with open arms. So that is going on regularly. There are convoys every month delivering aid and people who are going to become eyewitnesses. This is all very strong, yeah.
Because I believe that the northern entry is a lot more difficult to get in, isn't it, than the southern?
Yes, there are various crossing points. There is the Rafah border crossing with Egypt in the south. There's the top one in the north with Israel called Erez, which is basically for civilian journalists, for example, going in from Israel into Gaza. That's very difficult. That's basically closed down to people like you and me. Yeah?
Right.
Then in terms of the aid which Israel does deliver, which is fractional, as I said, that goes in through other goods crossings into Gaza. But basically, most of the stuff which provides for the kind of normal stuff in Gaza, the estimates are between 60 and 80% of it is through those smuggling tunnels which go underneath the Egyptian border. And remember that Egypt blockades Gaza so there's no normal import and export, but it does allow these convoys in, yeah, the international convoys.
Excellent. Right, we're going to go for one more question. Harry's lectures and awareness raising campaign is ending. Does Harry feel that he has opened more minds to the truth? No, I don't think it's ending, is it?
Well, the talking tour will end on Sunday, and I'm in the UK now, yeah, and I'm doing talks in London, basically in and around London for the rest of this week, full time, yeah. So people can go to GazaReport.com, my website, and find details of the talks. I'll be honest with you, yeah, these talks have been, according to the feedback I get, what the organizers say, what the feedback is face to face on the social media, they have done a lot in making people aware. I mean, there are various ways of judging this, but various fundraising events, for example, have been launched after the talks that have raised awareness about Gaza, for Gaza. Hundreds of people have been signed up to go to Gaza to become eyewitnesses and help out. The amount of media attention in some countries has been extraordinary and has raised awareness about what's going on in Gaza. Fundraising has happened for Gaza as a result of the talks. I don't charge anything. So if any of the organizations get any donations, this generally goes for aid for Gaza, for example. And in terms of raising awareness, it's not just the people that already roughly know about it that come to these talks. There are random members of the public who just happen to have heard about them that come. And what I do with the talks is try and keep them broad so that people who don't know anything can still find them accessible and find their way in, so that we can get more audiences and more people involved in this movement for awareness. Yeah. So it's been, I'll be honest with you, it's been very, very fulfilling because it's been ostensibly extremely successful. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, so the questions have all been fired at you and everything. Is there any last thing that you want to say to the people out there that are listening?
I want to say, because I'm guessing many of the people listening are people that have been supporting me and, helping me cope with doing this and etc. So I want to say thanks. And I also want to say, tweet out Pal Hunger Heroes, yeah, in solidarity with these guys who are basically almost dead trying to get their freedom back. I mean, we have to support them, yeah. Pal Hunger Heroes. People can type in the free Sama Isawi campaign. You guys will put a link up to that. I know, and etc. Pal Hunger Heroes on Twitter, yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Harry, it's been lovely having you on here and answering these questions for us. It's, it's really opened our eyes to that little bit more that we don't get to see and hear. So one last thing, it's not a question. It's just does Harry realise that Anonymous love him? So you're very much loved and wanted, Harry. You really are. And hopefully we can have another show with you if you've got any updates sometime.
I'll be back in Gaza in March, mate. So we'll do an update then, yeah.
Excellent, that'd be brilliant. Well, Harry, I'll let you sign off because I'm going to give them some music. But I'll be in touch and we'll get some more links from you. Okay.
Take care, mate.
Okay, take care, Harry. Thanks very much.
Peace and love, mate. Bye.
And you. Bye bye.